Hello everyone. In our session today, we want to talk about DNS security, also known as DNSSEC. DNSSEC provides security for DNS traffic. Now let's take a look at a scenario. We have a client computer, and the client computer makes a request to the DNS server for a particular website. The DNS server responds to that request by finding that website and redirecting the response to the client. Now that is data being sent, and what we want to do is to protect that data. DNSSEC will do just that. DNSSEC will protect against attacks. For example, instead of your request going to the DNS server and coming back with the correct response, what happens with DNS attack? What we usually call this DNS cache poisoning. The record that comes back to you comes back as something other than what you requested. An example would be if you typed into your browser window barbados.com and then you were redirected to dating.com. That means that you have a problem. You have DNS cache poisoning, and that cache poisoning will divert the internet traffic away from the legitimate server that will give you the correct response to a fake server that will supply you with a website other than the one that you wanted to be on. DNSSEC will give you data integrity. It will give you origin authentication of the DNS data and authenticated denial of existence. In other words, it protects you from those types of attacks. When a zone is protected, that means when DNSSEC is working, all answers from that protected zone are digitally signed. And by checking the digital signature, the DNS resolver is able to check if the information is identical, meaning if it's unmodified and complete to the information published by the zone owner and served on an authoritative DNS server. So the digital signature will actually verify that the data is correct. We're going to take a look at the configuration of the zone and how that zone is signed using DNSSEC. The first thing that we want to do is to access the DNS console, and we want to right-click on the zone. When you right-click on the zone, on the drop-down menu, you're going to see DNSSEC. So you simply click on DNSSEC and you click on Sign the Zone. Remember that the zone has all the DNS records for that particular server. So we are actually signing all the records. Once we sign the zone, all the records in that zone will be protected by DNS. So we go ahead and click on Sign the Zone. And we're presented with a wizard. You click Next on the wizard page, and you have some options. Your options are customize zone sign-in parameters, sign the zone with parameters of an existing zone, or use default settings to sign the zone. We're going to leave the defaults. So we're going to click on next to continue. And here we have what we call the key master. And you're going to choose the key master for the zone. And the key master is a DNS server that generates and manages keys for the DNSSEC protected zone. So any authoritative DNS server that has a primary copy of the zone can be the key master. And by default, as you see here, the current DNS server is chosen to be the key master. We want to click next to continue. You also have what we call the key signing key, KSK. Know the difference between the KSK that we looked at just now and the key signing zone. You will see that in exam. The KSK is an authentication key used to sign other keys. What we looked at before, the key signing zone, that's the key used to sign the zone. But the KSK is the keys used to sign other keys. And the private key corresponds to a KSK that will sign other keys that are used for signing the zone. So you have a key that is used to sign another key. You want to click on next to continue. And here you can see the key generation. You can generate new keys or you can use keys that were already generated. You see here the algorithm that you're using, the key length, and the storage provider for the keys. And by default, you can replicate the key to all DNS servers that are authoritative for the zone. We're going to leave the default settings here and click on OK, which takes us to the screen that we can add another key signing key. You can see that we already have one enabled, but you can add another one if you chose to. We're going to accept the default key. I'm going to click next to continue. You also have another key, and this key is called the zone sign-in key, ZSK, and this is an authentication key used to sign the zone data. So this whole process that we're going through is a process that you need to take if you want your data to be secure, if you want to implement DNS security. You want to click on next. And here you can add the zone sign-in key. Click on next and you configure the key, or you can leave the defaults as you see here. Click on OK. And you can add another key, or you can leave the one that you have here and you can go to the next screen. And here at this screen, you have what we call Next Secure, NSEC, and NSEC3. These are resource records that provide authentication denial of existence. And you have some options. Here you can generate and use a random sort of length, or you can use opt-out to cover unsigned delegations. You can leave the default here and click next to continue. You can also configure what is called a trust anchor, when you're creating or configuring DNSSEC. And the trust anchor enables distribution of trust anchors for the zone. And this will be distributed to all other DNS servers running on a domain controller in the forest. A trust anchor is a public key for a signed zone. You have to configure a trust anchor for every non-authoritative DNS server that will attempt to validate DNS data. The DNSSEC wizard also allows you to configure values for DNSSEC signing. You can see the values here. For DNS record generation algorithm, you have the DNS record TTL seconds, DNS record key TTL seconds. You have secure delegation polling period, and you have signature inception hours. So we have quite a lot that we can configure for DNSSEC to operate within our zone. You click next to continue. You look at the parameters that you have configured, and then you want to click next. And you will see that the zone has been successfully signed. And you click on finish to close the wizard. So remember, if you're going to configure DNSSEC for a particular zone, you have to right click on that zone and you have to sign the zone. The wizard will pop up and you go through each page of the wizard, making the configuration changes, if any, that you wish to make so that that zone will be signed. Remember, there are different types of zone keys, and when you're going through the video, please note the differences in the zone key. You will surely see them in exam. Also important to DNSSEC is what we call the name resolution policy table. And this table stores settings that are used to deploy DNS security extensions. And this can be configured using group policy or by using the Windows registry. Group policy is the preferred method for configuring this NRPT. And the client computer will only perform the DNSSEC validation on domains where this name resolution policy table has configured the DNS client computer to do so. Let us take a look at the policy, the name resolution policy. And we see here that the policy is under computer configuration, Windows settings, name resolution policy. The policy is over on the right hand side here. And we can see that the resolution policy has configuration settings. Remember that the name resolution policy stores configuration settings for DNS security and also direct access on DNS client service on DNS client computers. Here you can look at the rules, create the rules by simply answering the questions that you see here. One important thing that you have to remember that if you're going to enable DNSSEC in this rule, you must have the tick here you see to the left of enable DNSSEC in this rule. You have your settings, you have the options, you set the options that you want, and you simply click on create. So the name resolution policy table plays an important part in the configuration of DNSSEC because the name resolution policy table will allow you to create rules, and DNSSEC will follow those rules to configure security for the data, for the DNS data in the zone. To recap, DNSSEC was designed to protect applications, that is data, from using forged or manipulated DNS data, such as the data created by DNS cache poisoning. All answers from DNSSEC protected zones are digitally signed, and by checking the digital signature, a DNS resolver, which is your client, is able to check if the information is correct. That is, if the information is identical to the information published by the zone owner and served on an authoritative DNS server. This is the end of our session on DNS security, also known as DNSSEC. I want to thank you for listening.